to humiliate him in public about how he's not trying to spend and things to that effect, which would compel him to spend what he knows he can't afford to spend in order to try to get the girl to stay. We're going to be talking about all of these things. So there's different ways that money can be used in a negative fashion in a relationship. But there's also neglectful ways where you're not necessarily doing it on purpose. And we're going to be talking about this dynamic probably first, where we're in a situation where uh, you made a mistake, you forgot something, you didn't do something, you hurt your partner's feelings, and then you buy them something nice as an I'm sorry for what you did, whether it's cheating on your wife or you forgot a birthday, anniversary, special event that your partner was supposed to go to, and then you buy them something so that they forgive you because they've got new things. It's crazy. Michael says, in simple terms, I'm buying my get laid. Yeah. Some people are buying that get laid card. Some people are buying that stay in a relationship card. He said, welcome to Thursday Night Live. Grab a chair. It's a little bit better than Saturday Night Live because you learn something here. Hi, hi, Mike. He says, hi, I'm Mike. I'm an alcoholic. Okay. Well, they also have a Sexaholics Anonymous thing, so you can go there and with your alcoholism and sit in a group full of people who don't make the right decisions when it comes to getting laid, but they're learning from their mistakes. Money cannot fix a toxic relationship. In many cases, it builds a beautiful prison and hides a world of pain. You guys got to remember that. Oops. Tonight we're in AA. So when this happens, this is a look at both sides of the coin and how this can negatively impact your ability to be successful in a relationship. And we're also going to talk about what you can do to come out of it. So make sure that you stay tuned. So if this resonates with you at any point in time, make sure that you guys hit that like and subscribe button, whether it's happened to you or you've done this before. Uh, hit that like button. I want to see exactly how many of you guys are involved in improving situations once you've recognized that there is a problem. Now, it's a common belief that more money means fewer problems in some dynamics of your relationship because out of the holisticness of life, we believe that more money brings more problems, as Puff Daddy says. 99 problems, but a female ain't one of them. Well, it's not supposed to be. Usually she calls the first 84 of them, in my understanding, but that's neither here nor there. Nevertheless, when it comes to relationships, that myth is a very dangerous myth. While financial hardships is a known cause of tension in relationships, contributing to over a third of divorces, the issue isn't exclusive to those with less. In fact, arguments about money are a top predictor of divorce, regardless of couples' income or net worth. So, the real issue isn't a lack of wealth, but a lack of healthy communication, which is typically what happens in most relationships. There's a lack of shared goals, lack of transparency, and mutual respect between the two parties. One of the things that we overlook is the deep incompatibilities in financial values, like a saver versus a spender, that can create sustained friction into uh, an area that normally would have friction that no amount of money can resolve. Without addressing these underlying emotional issues, financial stability may relieve some of the stress because the bills are now being paid on time and you don't have to worry about being evicted or having your car repossessed. but the deeper problems outside of the money issues will always persist. So, in a toxic dynamic, money can become a weapon more than it can become a shield. And a wealthier partner might use their resources to amplify manipulative or controlling behavior, giving them the leverage to dominate decisions and limit the other's independence. You see this kind of stuff in the movies, but you can see this in a more wealthier relationship where the person that has the generational wealth uh, reminds the person that does not have any wealth that they're dependent on the to maintain this lifestyle, the wealth from the higher earner. You'll see this in uh, social classism situations where a higher financial status individual, for some reason, starts dating a lower status individual, and then the family of that person might remind that person that he or she is in a financial status class that is far beyond their own capabilities, and they need to hold a higher level of respect and humbleness towards the aristocrats of financial success so that they can maintain their position. Levels of manipulation. We find ourselves as adults doing this to our children on a regular basis, believe it or not. And this wasn't even a concept that I was going to cover until I just thought about it. When we were children, financial manipulation occurred with us as well on both levels. One, when parents wanted children to do things, sometimes they would bribe them with money. We'll give you money or buy you gifts for exchange of your positive behavior. We also had scenarios where when we wanted to make a purchase, since it wasn't our money, the parent who was making purchases would remind us who the money belongs to. Like if you're at the grocery store and you want to go get some McDonald's, and mom would say, "Do you have McDonald's money?" Well, you know that I don't have a job. This type of manipulation uh, uh, is a controlling factor in a relationship. It does hold control. It also leads, for example, when your parents buy you a toy for your birthday or buy you a gift for your birthday, and then because they're not satisfied with your behavior as punishment for your misbehavior, they take that gift back. So now your ability to to be uh, uh, experiencing any type of positivity in your receiving of gifts and your ownership and possession of those gifts is contingent to the satisfaction of the gift giver. Where if they don't like you or they don't like your behavior, they take gift back. Children do this manipulative tactics with their parents by wanting certain things, and since the positive behavior is utilized by parents as a control tactic uh, to give the child what they want, the child would then use reverse psychology and say, "Well, I'm going to misbehave until you get me what I want." And because the observation of obedience is a social stigma in society, the child will misbehave in open public to get what they want. So they will start yelling and crying and having a temper tantrum in the store. And then everybody is supposed to ignore that instead of shutting the kid up, because otherwise the parent would have to fold and buy the kid what the kid wants in order for the child to stop having a tantrum. Uh, these are manipulative behavior patterns that are less successful, but this is where it develops in our society. So when we get older and it goes into our relationships, we can see buying lavish gifts, we can see control tactics, we can see manipulation, and all of these things play a huge role in how money impacts a relationship. But if a person doesn't want to be in a relationship with you and they're only there for the money, they're only going to be there till the money stops. Michael says, learn to work on some sheet of music. Communication is key, and in a relationship, in the beginning at least, the honeymoon stage, you will still be working on what it's others' roles, each other's roles in the relationship. Oh yeah, you're going to definitely be working on your role and how you perform in a relationship, and you're going to be working on compromising with your partner on their role and how they're going to function in the relationship. So think of yourselves as two pieces that need to be smoothed out in time. So it will work out if you let it. Well, that is it. If we're going to give time as a factor, we have a lot of frustration in toxic relationships. We have a lot of frustration in financial incompatibilities. We have a lot of frustrations with incompatibility all the way around, where we actually got together not because we were capable, not because we were compatible. We got together because one person was there for the sex and the other person was there for the money. And because they're getting what they came for, they ended up in a relationship because they're getting consistency from their partner. But everything else that is not compatible is still going to be issues that need to be resolved. Now, while yes, we can make some changes for the betterment of ourselves, we have to recognize that in order to make the relationship work, we do have to make some changes for the betterment of the relationship, which means that we have to change to the satisfaction of some of the reasonable expectations of our partner, but not total compromise of our entire identity. He said, if it's toxic, get out. Well, yes and no. Yes, if it becomes too toxic and it's overbearingly toxic, uh, and there is no room for change, where the change that needs to be made in a relationship now comes from positive participation from your partner, then yeah, in those toxic situations, you have to get out because there's nothing else that you can do to make this situation any better. But you are the one that's unhappy. So yes, get out. But on the other hand, as I explained to you how the financial manipulation occurs in our childhood, some of the toxic behavior is unintentional. And because it is unintentional, while we might recognize this as at least negative behavior, if not toxic behavior, it is not always something that we need to abandon ship on. If we recognize that there is a problem here, that we have a bad pattern of behavior, we can proactively change that pattern of behavior and improve the relationship without having to abandon a relationship. For example, um, guys typically screw up in life where the woman is unsatisfied and they will buy her something based on the level of guilt they have for what they've done, and they will bring the gift to the girl as an apology. You screw up, you make her cry, you get her some roses. You screw up, you make her cry, you get her some jewelry. You screw up, you make her cry, you go buy her the one thing that she really wanted that you couldn't afford to get before. You go get it now to make her happy so that she stops being sad and crying and disappointed at you. But that is a manipulative tactic because you failed in the relationship. You have caused emotional harm to your partner, and now you're trying to mask or dismiss your negative behavior by using an impulsive buy to compel her to ignore what you just did, not necessarily forgive you and hopefully forget about it and just let it go. That is a traditional behavior in our society. That is not necessarily deliberately manipulative. If you hurt her feelings, buy her a gift. That's what men teach other men, but that doesn't fix the problem. Then we have some women who have, just like children have grown up with people buying gifts to make up for and show their affection towards another person. Women are conditioned to believe in some situations that they are only loved by the other person when they are getting a gift of some kind at some point over the period of time. And in those situations, she would be demanding an expression of affection by demanding you to buy her something, not necessarily because she's a toxic woman that's using you for what you have, but because she does not feel love if she's not getting some kind of gift. Where, unbeknownst to the man, it doesn't have to be expensive. It just has to be something that wasn't originally in her possession before, and she would be satisfied with it. But from the observation of men, when a woman wants something, we have this inherent behavior that we have to go above and beyond the call of duty to satisfy a simple gesture, and something as simple as giving her a sticky note with positive words of the day, how you make me feel, or something to that effect, that would have made her feel just as good because that sticky note is still a gift. Instead, we went to fucking Zales and got this 15 karat gold bracelet on freaking sale to express with that diamond necklace what the sticky note would have expressed. She's still going to feel the same way, but the difference is the latter is going to cause the guy to go broke. So it's not necessarily just uh, run if it's toxic. You have to recognize that your behavior patterns are unhealthy. And the first thing you have to do is try to collectively agree to change that. And if you can't change that, then you get out. It's one of the reasons why relationships are so short, 1 year, 5 months, and 6 days, is because when partners are unsatisfied after the first 90 days, which means you really only have now 1 year, 2 months, and 6 days to fix the relationship after you have settled into a pattern of behavior for 90 days, where it only takes 66 days to develop a bad habit. You will be in that bad habit for 90 to 95 days before pet peeves start kicking in and people start vocalizing how they're dissatisfied with certain behavior patterns. But if you've been allowing it to happen for the last 4 months, why are you bitching about it now? And if you're the second person to complain about something, the first person is going to assume that it is a retaliatory complaint, not a genuine complaint, which further makes it difficult to get change. In these situations, the reason why the relationship breaks down and breaks apart is because there is less effort to recognize what needs to be fixed and putting forth the effort to fix it, and more effort playing catchbacks and retaliating and tit for tat on negative experiences. Oh, she did me this, I'm gonna fix her and I'm gonna do that. Oh, he did me that, I'm gonna fix him and then I'm gonna do this. And it spirals downward until the tolerance level of one person or another, it has been met to the max, and that person abandons ship. Michael says if the other partner is not willing to help, yeah, you get out and said, I'll buy her something. The big D. You can't buy her the big D, the big diamond bracelet. I would get her a power saw. No, you don't want to get her a power saw, bro. Cause did you see what Medea did with a power saw? You get a woman a power saw, bro. You might come to find out that Lorena Bobbitt is not just a one person type of behavior pattern. You get you if you're gonna get her something, you got to get her a plastic a plastic butter knife and a spork with no prongs on it. That way, there is no harm coming to you. He said, "Funny how we come up with the same solutions, but different approaches." Well, yes, there is more than one way to do these things, and that's one of the reasons why we talk about it on the show. One of the understandings that you have to have is that since there is no one way to get into this situation, there's no one way to get out of the situation. There is very few ways to navigate how you're going to rectify the situation because you have to proactively communicate, and that bottlenecks how you resolve the problem. You have to first come together, communicate, not judge each other, not retaliate against each other, and then agree towards doing things differently. Now, the as you're coming out of the negotiation phase, there's other ways you can do it, like delegation, voluntarily performing certain tasks, uh, group think scenarios. But going into it, you're funneling your way into the need for communication and then funneling your way out of the agreements of performance. But there's no one way to do it. but no way that you will do it will it get done without proper communication, because if you're both not on the same page and you both don't understand what's going on, you will be in a situation where one person is doing it for the betterment of the other person, or at least that's what they think, and person number two, the receiver, might feel like this is either pity or some type of personal attack, and they will take that good gesture the wrong way and then respond to it negatively. And then the person who performed the action might feel unappreciated because they did it with good intentions in mind. And then it turns out that they will retaliate on the retaliation, and that's how it spirals. So without the communication, you're going to have a complete breakdown. But this is going to form a level of coercive control known as financial abuse. And we didn't even think about this back in the day. Back in the day, it was just follow instructions. Now it's called financial abuse. And this is a pattern of behavior that takes away a person's freedom and control in a staggering 99% of domestic violence cases. And I know first thing women are going to think, yep, these men. But ladies, this happens on both sides of the fence. Women utilize resources, whether it's her resources or his resources, as a manipulative tool, because the same demand, just like I used the example of the parent and the child, the same way the parent can use the purchasing of gifts as a tool to control the child can use the lack of purchasing of gifts as a tool to control the parent. So you have to recognize that this works in both ways. The receiver can use the same action in the same fashion as the giver for control. Because if you want my compliance, you must spend money. And if you want me to spend money, you must comply. Two halves of the same coin. Just like teaching a dog a trick by feeding the dog treats. You can teach the dog that if the dog performs the trick, the dog will get the treat. But guess what? Now the dog is teaching you that if they perform the trick, you must give them a treat. So you teach a dog to sit, you give him a treat. Every time your dog sits, the dog gets a treat. When the dog wants a treat, the dog will sit without command, expecting you to give the dog a treat. So now you are being commanded by your pet to give them a treat, because they will continuously sit down in front of you where a treat is available, so that you can give them something in a moment where you normally would not have given them anything. So this even works, the give and receive relationship between two entities works far more than just a romantic relationship. Y'all gotta understand this. He said, learn each other's faults, like why don't you leave the toilet seat? Uh so I don't pee on in the middle of the night. Bro, okay, I gotta talk about this real quick. Any ladies in the show right now, please give me an understanding about this. Um, it is control, bro. Who teaches who, you or the dog? Well, it's both ways. The person doing the giving is teaching the person that's receiving that if they perform the action that they will get the result. And the person doing the receiving will then be teaching the person doing the giving that if you want my compliance, you must give me what I want. And that dynamic is mutually played against one another. But ladies, I got to ask y'all real quick before we continue. Why is it more important for you to have the seat down from the start than it is for you to proactively put the seat down from the start? Why can the seat not be up when you get in the room? Why must it always be down? Now, fellas, we also have to understand that for some reason, we never have all the toilet seats down, because you know that there's one that we sit on and then we have one that covers it. It has to be up with the seat down when the woman comes in, so that all they've got to do is sit. And then those of us who proactively lift the seat so that we don't have any backsplash spill on the seat. Why why do we forget to put it down And why does she demand that it goes down when in most situations it would stationarily stay up? Now, if you really want to fix this problem, ladies and gentlemen, you can always go and buy the type of toilet seat that does not stay up so that it will go down the easy way or the hard way, either making a loud noise or a gentle close, one way or another. It will be down by the time you walk out of that bathroom. Otherwise, if y'all got the really cheap one from Walmart instead of the expensive one from Home Depot and Lowe's, it'll stay up. So, ladies, before you sit, shine a light on the toilet, make sure the seat is down. I don't here, and I really wanted to ask this. I don't understand. As a guy, I look before I sit, okay? Everywhere, not just in the bathroom. Why do women not look before they sit? They just like plop down anywhere like gravity is supposed to keep them from falling through the voids of space. Like what's up with that? If you just look before you sit, if it was up, it's up, put it down. And if it's down and you need it up, put it up. But why is the toilet seat an argument in the relationship, ladies? Help me understand this real quick. Mike says, I think my dog got me trained. Some people's dogs do got them trained. What's the sprinkle called in the toilet? The sprinkle called backsplash. That's what it's called. That's what it's called. Dribble, but it's called backsplash. But no, this is a real question here. And one of the things that you do to keep your dog from training you is that if you're going to give your dog treats for certain behavior or you're going to have a routine, like I take my dog for a walk and when I come back I give my dog his vitamins. So my dog expects those vitamins when he comes back from the walk. So now he's sitting there waiting on the vitamins to be dispersed. As a result, you're not taking me out on walks so that you can get vitamins. So I give it to you when I want you to have it. So sometimes I give it to them as soon as we get in the door. Sometimes I put it where I want him to be at. Sometimes I give it to him a few hours later. He doesn't get it exactly at the same time. So he cannot demand that he's going to get the vitamins as soon as we come back from the walk, which breaks that training me to give it to him kind of scenario. So the lack of consistency, being spontaneous about your giving, we're going to be talking about that later, is how you break the habit of demanding a gift for a certain type of behavior. He said, no, that sprayer that cleans your, oh, you're talking about the duvet, the duvet, the thing that cleans your butt when you sit down on it. He said the sprayer, the sprayer that cleans your bottom. I've been meaning to get one of those, but I'm lazy because I have to install it. But if I go get one of those chicks from the Philippines as a girlfriend next to the wife, then I'll have one of them put it together, and then it'll come in from FedEx or UPS and be sitting on a doorstep, and one woman will bring it in, and the other woman will install it, and then I'll have it to use. That'll be fantastic. Make sure you like and subscribe, ladies. Western women. Now, understanding that this type of behavior where money is utilized to control in a relationship can start subtle with an offer like, let me take care of the finances so that you don't have to stress, but that can evolve into total control. While each person should be able to manage their own individual finances, and while it might be okay for the person that does have a little bit more time to handle the finances, to be able to put forth the action of spending money on the common needs bills to a degree, you're supposed to still have a level of reasonable communication with one another. I paid X, Y, and Z bill, or I'm going to pay X, Y, and Z bill, and here's the money for such and such bill, so that things can happen where both parties are reasonably balanced in the involvement of the day-to-day operations. It should not be ever in a scenario. It doesn't matter if the man makes more money than the woman or the woman makes more money than the man. Uh, don't worry about it. I got this kind of behavior. You should always be able to have the capabilities to fully disclose with your partner what is getting paid for, what's not getting paid for, and if something's not getting paid for, what is the financial reasons why it is not being paid for. And the reason being is because, like we talked about on the show a few months ago, a man was buying a house with his wife. He lost his job. He didn't want to tell her about it. He was going through financial troubles. She could have helped him if he included her in his problem. And because he didn't, they were always fighting because he was under a lot of stress and a lot of pressure. She didn't know why. And they ended up getting a divorce. She ended up keeping the house, and everything that he was trying to build through the lack of communication was taken away because he did not communicate the fact that, look, hon, I'm going to need you to hold down the bills for a while because I don't have a job, or because the guy was a painter, I don't have enough work to cover this spread. And that would allow her to recognize that she needs to proactively put more money towards bills that he doesn't have the money to cover. Likewise, in the same relationship, if he starts making more money than he used to make, he would be able to inform his wife, okay, I now have X, Y, and Z more money that I can contribute to certain things, which if she was fitting the bill for the majority of things, now she knows that she has the ability to financially reduce the effort because he can now cover the spread a little bit more, which gives her a little bit more financial relief. So being in these situations where let me take care of it is not always the case. Now, he said, if they communicated with her. Now the thing that I noticed about the women in the Philippines is that they prefer to handle the finances so that they can make sure that there's plenty of money going around. And you could do that the same way you do in a big business where the primary quantities of capital is handled by the higher ups, but then there's discretionary spending that is sent to certain budgets, uh, certain accounts for certain budgets, and the person that's over that budget gets to manage that particular amount of money. And you could potentially do that. The primary uh, basic bills like utilities, car insurance, mortgage, stuff like that might be the primary responsibility of one person, but then the luxury spending like subscriptions, memberships, discretionary spending like entertainment and vacations and food, grocery stuff like that. That stuff could be managed by another person where both parties are managing something. You could have one person that would be managing the household expenses, everything in the household expenses, and the other person only managing the investment capital, where you still both have a portion of responsibility in the finances. It's not 100% operated by one person, where one person knows nothing about how much money is there, and the other person has all of the knowledge. That shouldn't be a thing. You guys should have to come together and collaborate on missing information because one party has some of the knowledge and the other party has the rest of the knowledge. That would be the best way to manage that. And that would eliminate that total control scenario. Because when you are in a scenario with an abuser, whether it's intentional or accidental, they might give the other person an allowance. We see this a lot of the times from back in the day when men used to give their money to the woman and the woman would balance the budget and she would give him an allowance. It is not deliberate that she's monitoring his spending, but they will be monitoring the spending because if all you need for your day-to-day spending habits outside of all of the bills is X number of dollars per month, why are you telling me to give you or asking me to give you more money than that? What did you spend your money on? Where did the money go? The fact that you're questioning the spending is going to lead to demanding of receipts and everything like that, which puts the person that has the allowance in the position of a dependent where they have to prove the validity of why they're asking for an increase in their allowance instead of one person saying, I don't have enough money, give me some more money, or I'm going to give you less of the money so that I have more money to spend. and the other person just says, okay. Big difference. Soon as one person says, I need more money, or I'm not going to give you as much money because, or just say, I'm not going to give you as much money, and the other person inquires with the why, the person that is holding on to less capital for his or her discretionary spending is going to be the person that's going to feel like they're being micromanaged. So we don't want to do that. Michael says, example of a good marriage. My brother, been married 40 years to the same wife. Longevity, that's longevity. That's not necessarily a good marriage. So let me see if this is a good marriage. He said when they got married, he was out every night until she took him, and it's either me or the guys and drinking. He's made the right decision. Keep her. Well, okay, it can be a good relationship. If he had, oh, one of the things we have to recognize with men is that men have to have a purpose. Unlike women, men need a purpose. Women just have to have a goal. They will strive for that goal, no matter what it is. Men have to have a purpose to dedicate themselves and devote themselves to. Without that purpose, some men lose the will to live, and some men make catastrophic and toxic choices. When a man finds a woman that he values, he will change to dedicating himself to her, devoting himself to her. So all of the bad choices that he used to make that would hurt him, self traumatize him, he is no longer making so that he can be inherently a better man for the woman that he gets. Now, since he's only doing that because she is here, if they separate, if they break up, if they get a divorce, in that situation, he will go back to the way he used to be and sometimes get worse because she's no longer here. So, can the marriage be a good thing? Yes, it can. But can it be masking a bigger problem? Of course it is. He says, man, like men like women need space. Yes, they do. They need everybody needs their own personal space. But we also have to recognize that we can develop an unhealthy level of introverted behavior, self-isolation, that sometimes is a product of unknown depression. And we will refuse to interact with other people. And we will get used to that behavior over years, and we have to force ourselves out of that self isolating behavior. If we're in a relationship or something to that effect, we have to remind ourselves that we must go out and interact with our partner so that our partner can experience our presence. A lot of the times, our partner might have to come and get us to compel us to socialize. And then we develop this routine. So while we do need space where we're not under each other all the time, where we're not forced to interact with one another all the time, we do need to remember that too much space can lead to a problem in a relationship. And we need to remind each other that I haven't seen you in a while and you need to come and hover in my area for a little bit. He said they both have something they do together. Other times they do their things. Yeah, yeah, you're right. Yeah. So planning group projects together does work to force you guys to voluntarily encounter each other on a regular basis, and then having solo activities that you do apart, and having a moderate quantity of time dispersed for all of these things does help you guys maintain a good relationship. Now, the control that happens from allowing one person to dictate everything often extends to that isolating of a partner from their supportive friends, family, or professional networks, which increases their vulnerability And this is why financial insecurity is cited as the number one reason that victims stay in a relationship or return to the abusive relationship because they can't afford to leave. And they're not capable of sustaining the lifestyle that they have without the provider of those resources. This is one of the reasons why some women build escape funds, where when they get into a relationship with a good man, they are siphoning money out of the family accounts and stashing it in an unknown account so that in case they want to leave the relationship, they can walk out of the relationship and have financial stability. I don't agree with that to a degree. And I know that some women are going to be mad about that. But if you have come out of an abusive relationship where, first of all, you should be building a trust with every relationship, but you should, where the trust is an irrevocable trust. So that means your partner can't get mad at you and play take backs. You can build the type of trust where you guys put money into the trust, and upon the termination of the relationship, the trust is supposed to start putting money back into everybody's account in an even fashion. You can do that. You can put money into a trust, have the trust as a third party trustee where it's not you or your partner, third party trustee, and they're just moving the money around in order to make money for the trust. And then upon the time that the relationship falls apart, you guys start getting your 50-50, or you can start getting dividends effective immediately. Either way, if you build that trust in a relationship, you don't need an escape fund. If you have an abusive relationship, you like Michael said, they do have female shelters. You guys got family and friends. You should never part with communication, regular communication with family and friends for the sake of a relationship. Uh, but again, you're not supposed to be becoming best friends with your ex either. So you got to pay attention to that. He said, but he loves me. Nah, it ain't even just that, because you got sometimes where these females be holding all the cash. You're talking about the 1950s, 1960s model. Oh, but he loved me. He got all the money. He controlling everything. She got to do what he say. And 2025, she an alpha boss lady. She got all the money, and she's the one that's paying for your car and your PlayStation subscription, your Xbox subscription, and she will terminate your Fortnite account if you don't do what she say. It's a whole different era, bro. These chicks got control, bro. And the toxicity still happens in both dynamics. Um, this toxic dynamic isn't just about direct control. It can also be about deception, because financial infidelity, where a partner lies about money, is a profound betrayal of trust. A 2021 survey found that 43% of adults who share finances admit to some form of financial deception. This can include hiding debts, hiding the lack of income, secret spending, or not being truthful to some degree about the income. Like you see it on TV all the time, where like this comedy show where the family is living life, and then the man loses his job. He still leaves every day as if he's going to work, but he's not actually going to work. And then after a while, he'll come back and somebody will catch him not at work, or they'll go to his job looking for him, and then they'll be like, "Oh yeah, he got laid off so many weeks or so many months ago." And then they confront their partner, "Why didn't you tell me?" That is financial infidelity, lying about the fact that you lost your job, or lying about the fact that you still have your job, withholding that information, because you could have just told your partner. And I understand that some people are embarrassed. They had a good job, they lost the job, and they don't want anybody to know about it because of the embarrassment. So they just keep it to themselves, trying to find themselves another job, trying to find another source of income. But the truth is, like, it's easier just to get it off your chest and tell the other person, because what they can do, knowing now that you need help, is take stress off your plate. as opposed to the betrayal they're going to feel because you deprived them of the ability to be the loyal, dedicated partner and aid you when you needed them, which adds to your frustration because you still don't have a job and now your partner's mad because they didn't know. This secrecy erodes the emotional foundation of the relationship. It's going to breed resentment and insecurity. Uh, Over time, what was once a partnership can devolve into a transactional relationship where the connection is based on a give take situation. And this dynamic is going to be the new dynamic rather than a genuine affection style relationship. And this is especially true when one partner begins to leverage the other's insecurities for material gain, turning affection into a currency. This isn't gender specific, but it does happen. When a person stays in a relationship for financial gain, it reduces the connection to a transaction, which can lead to feelings of being used and undervalued. Or worse, some of the men experience this when a woman uses a man's insecurity to manipulate him to buying her things. The consequences can deeply impact the relationship. Emotional manipulation often targets a man's deepest vulnerabilities, such as his self worth, fear of rejection, or status, creating a cycle where love and approval are tied to material provisions. He said, a true story, killed the wife and the kids when confronted. Sad. Well, he didn't actually kill the wife and the kids. Oh, are you talking about Chris Benoit? Because Chris Benoit did kill the wife and the kids. But it does happen that it does happen that in certain situations where the pressure from the image that the person made for himself in front of his family is so profound that you know it's like unmasking the villain. Now everybody that knows has to be eliminated because I think that is the story I read. Yeah, yeah. Okay. Well, see, Chris Benoit was a professional wrestler, and I don't know the details behind the situation, but he went home from work one day and he eliminated his whole family and then took himself out. But there are a lot of scenarios that are out there where something happens in the relationship, and then the husband takes out the wife and the children in those types of dynamics, and they say allegedly that it can be contributed to the change in perception of how the family perceived the man, and now that the dynamic is not what the man expected it to be, his overreaction to the situation leads to a negative outcome. But yes, that ability to switch out does lead to some side effects that you don't want to have in your relationship. In some situations, and we'll see this especially now here in 2025, the woman in a relationship might subtly imply that the man's value depends on his ability to provide, suggesting that only by buying expensive gifts will he be desirable or good enough. And you will see this in situations like when guys are trying to ask girls out on dates and the girls are demanding the expectation of steak and lobster on the first date when he don't even know her name. You know, you have relationships where during the dating phase that some women want to go shopping on the man's dollar and she does not ask him for his permission or approval to spend his money when they have not committed financially to combining their resources. She has her own separate resources, he has his own separate resources, and this situation occurs where she decides that she wants to go spend money just for the sake of, under the assumption that he's gonna pay. And then if he decides that that's not what he wants to do, well, a good man would would pay for it. A real man would buy this for me, and this type of behavior would shame the man into wanting to prove that he's a good man or that he cares about her, and then buy something that he otherwise would not have bought outside of um, the self sustainability of proving that he is worthy of being in a relationship with her. And he says, appeasement. Exactly. This creates conditional approval, where affection and intimacy are withheld until he spends money, exploiting his anxiety and desire for acceptance. I told you guys this works with children as well. I told you guys earlier the conditional approval where affection affection is withheld from the parent when the child doesn't behave is going to be also conditional compliance where the children might exploit the parent's anxieties and the desire to be perceived by society as a competent and capable parent would see a disruptive and disobedient child as ruining that image. So now, in order for me to play the role as a good kid, where you look like a good parent, you must buy my compliance. You must buy. This is conditional obedience, as the same as conditional approval. So this happens both ways. And in a romantic relationship where the dependent utilizes this conditional obedience where the wife might be an obedient and responsible wife to the husband if he's giving her money, like you see on those social media videos where before the lady starts cursing up a storm about the guy leaving his clothes and stuff like that all over the house, the girl might actually find money in the dirty laundry and not complain. She might find money in certain areas of the house that otherwise would not have been there so that she could do something that he would expect her to do, like picking up dishes and stuff like that. And it would just be cash in different places. And because there's money there that he's not looking for, he's not asking her for it back. She's not going to complain about it because that's extra money that she has to spend to offset his ability to behave in ways that she would otherwise be disappointed and frustrated about. That type of manipulation is, while it's funny on a YouTube video or a TikTok video, that type of behavior is a type of behavior that exists, but that type of behavior is not a healthy behavior to have. He said appeasement turns into vanity, which turns into control. So don't do it. Yeah, you're right. And another powerful tool is going to be that guilt. So statements like, if you really care about me, you would buy this for me. Like we seen that video of that one chick where the guy was trying to, he bought her a BMW S class and she wanted the black edition. So he got her one that he could afford. She wanted an upgraded SUV instead of the four-door sedan. And the reason why she wanted the upgraded SUV was so that she could fit all of her fat friends in the car. But he was getting her a car because she didn't have a car. So she would go from walking to driving a four-door sedan. She wasn't satisfied with that. And she told him, if you really love me, you would get me this upgraded SUV that has less gas mileage, lower miles per gallon, higher cost price point for him, just so that she could entertain her friends, her family members. And he wasn't having that. But it turns the relationship into a negotiation where now she's leveraging his fear of abandonment for her personal gain. That appeasement, that appeasement don't go that far. He said, I'll get a new pair of shoes and show her the door. I don't know. I don't know, bro. I don't think I would show her the door. I think that while she's at work, I would change the locks and not show her the door, not show her where the key is. Or even better, there's biometric locks on the house. I would just deactivate her fingerprint. Now she can't get in. I would let her walk out of the door and then lock the door behind her. Yeah, I'm not trying to show her what the door looks like. You seen the door when you left. So you know what it looks like when you can't get back in. And for those men that are living in her house, I would treat her like Diary of a Mad Black Woman. I treat her like some waiting to exhale. Pack up all your stuff while they at work and relocate it. Don't say nothing. You can still be there when they get back, but when you do walk out the door, you know, you just walk out the door. They thinking you coming back. Your ass ain't coming back. As they walk through the house, all your stuff is not there. They gonna be like, damn. Then when they call you, he ain't answering the phone no more. There's some ways to get out. But over time, these tactics that you experience in a relationship, if you don't leave, create a cycle of psychological entrapment. The man eager to gain acceptance or avoid conflict can feel trapped, unable to set non negotiable expectations for fear of losing affection. Where we have certain relationships where women will withhold intimacy and withhold affection if the man doesn't buy her the things that she wants to have. Likewise, some men can withhold financial provisions if he's not getting the level of affection or intimacy that he wants from his woman. So that's a double standard dynamic there, ladies. So don't think that I'm only going to hit this on one side. It, it works both ways. This erodes the sense of autonomy and can drive the partner to make increasingly risky choices, whether the man is making financial choices or the woman is making alternative choices. Like a man might take on extra debt to buy her that G Wagon when he really just wanted to get her a new sedan, or just to maintain her approval, he might buy her those red bottom shoes or buy her an expensive dress or, you know, spend his life savings on a vacation to Spain or Italy just to maintain her approval. Ultimately, money cannot heal the emotional wounds that fuel the toxic dynamic. Attempts to use lavish gifts as a subtle substitute for empathy, intimacy, or affection often feel hollow and fail to address deeper issues. The chronic stress from being in a toxic relationship can have severe consequences for both mental and physical health. Studies show that financial stress is liked or linked to anxiety and depression, with a 47% of United States adults saying money has a negative impact on their mental health. That's where the saying comes from, money can't buy happiness. Money can't buy you a person that would genuinely perform for you. But if you have enough money, a person can put on a role, they can pretend as long as the money is consistent. But since they're only doing it for the money, if and when the money runs out, their behavior will change dramatically. And likewise, their emotional attraction to somebody could lead them to abandon the money and go for genuine happiness, where you cannot give them an increase in financial provisions to make them stay when their heart is with somebody else. So you got to think about that as well. For a man caught in a manipulative cycle, the impact is lasting. He may find it harder to recover his confidence, financial stability, and the ability to trust future partners. And this constant stress can also trigger emotional spending, where one or both partners use purchasing to temporarily ease tension rather than resolving the root cause, leading to more regret and conflict. That only poor people say money won't make you happy. I can tell you that you can find enough things to accomplish in life if you've got enough money going around. Money cannot buy you a genuine, loyal, dedicated person that will put up with all your bullshit because that's what they have dedicated themselves to do out of their own personal desire of duty. Money can buy a bunch of people who will show up and follow your instructions and do what you say the way you want it to be done, as long as they're getting the right value of income to perform in that fashion. Uh, some people who cannot be satisfied might find that impulsive spending on irrelevant items doesn't make them happy. And the happiness that they want, they can't get from buying material items. But if they had a hobby, the money could pay for the hobby and they would be equally satisfied. So money can buy you a level of happiness that is sustainable for your standard of living if you're responsible about your expectations. But money cannot buy somebody else loving you the way you want to be loved. They can pretend, but they're not going to genuinely have affections for you. They will put their lives on the line because you're their paycheck. You are their standard of living. But remember, just like a commanding officer has to pull rank on a subordinate to maintain control, you, as the financial provider of this monetary relationship, would have to remind your partner when they start getting disobedient that they are doing this for the money and the money will stop if they don't perform. So that dynamic, that can't be rectified by money. But Michael's right. Only people who don't have enough money to do what needs to be done will say that money can't buy happiness. Uh, like I said, it may not make you happy, but it keeps the wolves away from the door. My hobbies make me money, gives me happiness. I'm gonna be real with you. Uh, More often than not, if you are capable of seeing positive results in your life, satisfaction occurs. The dopamine drip occurs. So being able to profit from your hobby, being able to do what you love and making a lot of money for it, not having the financial stressors in life, and then being able to stimulate yourself with adventure, safe adventure, that's not just random impulse buys, especially if those safe adventures can provide you with a standard of living, you can, in fact, find a level of happiness through spending money, especially when you're spending money to make money. But if you're just going to have billions of dollars in the bank and you're just laying on the couch all day watching reruns of Friends in the same outfit from last month, no, having millions of dollars is not going to make you money. It's not going to make you happy. Spending it, on the other hand, could aid you because even if you bought you an expensive therapist to work through the psychological trauma that's preventing you from enjoying these millions, you can find a way to fix your situation. He said, "You doing stocks make you happy?" Yeah, exactly. Me doing stocks will make me happy. Every time I get an email that says that I'm getting paid dividends, I'm ecstatic. I I be getting dividends at times where I didn't even know money was coming in. I was like, oh shit. I was invested it already. Wasn't even paying attention to it. I got more money now than what I started with. I wasn't expecting that. For couples facing financial toxicity, there are evidence-backed steps to address these issues and promote healing. Now, the first is to recognize and acknowledge the problem. You cannot get past step one. You must acknowledge that there is a problem. Now, this means being honest about harmful patterns like excessive monitoring of spending or using money for control. You have to word it appropriately, but you have to recognize that this is happening. Openly discussing the emotional impact that it has is the root cause, such as insecurity, fear, or past trauma. This is critical. You would be able to then take the next step, which is rebuilding the financial autonomy. Educating both partners about budgeting, savings, investing, credit scores can reduce power imbalances and boost confidence. So even if you're the primary handler of the money and the other person is the breadwinner of the household, if you are regularly reporting to the other person what's going on with the money, asking them what do they think about upcoming changes, then you are able to restore trust where couples who practice transparency by sharing access to all financial accounts and creating fair guidelines for spending can find themselves with less stress in their relationships. If these steps feel impossible alone, seeking some professional help from financial therapists can address both the monetary and psychological damage. Now, in some cases, legal support may be necessary to understand one's rights and create a safe exit plan. So, get you a lawyer, sign some prenups, get you a dating contract that limits legal authority and accessibility to resources, get you a marriage contract. Marriage contracts are similar to the how do I put this? A marriage contract is different from actually getting married. It's the terms and conditions of the utilization of the resources during the marriage, which is a little bit different from the prenup that is a signed agreement of the division of resources in the marriage if the marriage dissolves itself. And this contract, it sometimes is not actionable in the court, and sometimes it is, especially when you have a contract that limits certain that dictates certain terms of usage. So if you go to another place, you if you go to another place in a relationship and your partner takes the car, and then when you shift that relationship, you're in a position where she cannot take the car out of state or whatever the case may be. It's almost like a lease agreement with a rental car company. The car can only go so far for so long, and then it needs to be returned. If it if the accessibility of utilization, like for example, your girlfriend takes the car and lends it to her brother without your knowledge or consent. The terms and condition of usage was she uses it exclusively, that she is the driver of the vehicle. And when she cannot drive the vehicle, she gets the owner of the vehicle, which is you, to come and collect the vehicle. When someone else drives the car, that's a breach of contract, which allows you to terminate her accessibility and utilization of said vehicle. That's the kind of stuff that can happen in the agreements. And if misusage of the resources is a breach of contract and the breach of contract, it has a monetary value of claim to it, it might be actionable in a court because the breach of contract portion of a civil suit could be argued in a courtroom. But getting the marriage contract is not so much about suing your wife or suing your boyfriend. It's about accountability, being able to write down the terms of how you will interact with one another, being able to write down the conditions of how you're going to utilize and share the resources, and being able to go back and recall what you guys agreed on. Even if you have 100 terms of and conditions, 50 from each person, and writing it down or typing it up, printing it out, and then posting it up on the wall where whenever one of you starts getting out of line, we agreed. We signed the agreement, got it notarized, however you want to look at it, where we agreed when we were sober and conscious and coherent that this is how we were going to behave in a relationship, and this is not how you're behaving in a relationship. This allows for accountability. He said, get a shave. I am not shaving. We are not even in no shave November. I might I might trim it up next month, but he ain't doing it this month. Finally, emotional healing involves practicing self affirmation to restore self worth and attending support groups to gain perspective and resources for coping with financial trauma. Now, beyond traditional advice, there are some unorthodox strategies that a man can use to stop a partner from exploiting his insecurities for financial gain. The first is to internalize his self worth and reality check the manipulation. This involves a conscious effort to detach self esteem from material giving and recognize that love is not a transaction. So, if you're in the type of relationship where it's good 3 days out of the week, then payday happens. And if you don't give your partner money, it starts being bad until you give your partner money, and then it goes back to being good. Recognize that this behavior pattern is not acceptable. If your partner's behavior changes right before you start getting paid, you make it clear to your partner that you're not giving them any money this pay period. Their behavior does not work out after that. You make it clear to them that their behavior is only positive when they're receiving money from you. And that requires you to acknowledge that the relationship and the positive treatment of the boyfriend or husband should not be contingent to his provision of financial status. He said, poor communication. A lot of times it can be poor communication, but there's going to be more often than you believe situations where they're doing this on purpose. Because poor communication is unintentionally making a bad decision that negatively impacts the other person, and the other person did not catch on to what was going on, and they didn't follow the lead, and the situation didn't end well. However, oh, you said get a shovel. Get a shovel, not a shave. I was about to say, well, this ain't now we're in October, and because we're in October, now is a good time to get a shovel. Because getting a shovel in 811 and then covering it with a Halloween theme, this is the perfect time to do it. Oh man, make sure y'all like and subscribe. Y'all come to this ridiculous. um, we have to remind ourselves that when a manipulative request triggers insecurity, that as men you should pause and ask whether fulfilling it serves a relationship perspective or just a need for approval. So if she's looking for a Prada bag or a Coach bag or something to that effect, and she's gonna do her thing that's gonna try to compel you to go and get it, you got to stop and ask yourself: are you making this purchase for the sake of the relationship, or are you making this purchase for the sake of her personal desires? A purchase that's made for the sake of the relationship is that you two both are sharing a car, you're both trying to get to work, you both have conflicting work schedules, and you both have to travel in different directions to get to work. Only one of you will have the car, and the other person will be in need of a car, and buying another car for the relationship so that both of you have reasonable transportation to get to work on time. That is a decision made for the sake of the relationship. Buying a new house because she wants a new house on the beach, that is a desire based on personal preference of the individual person. Buying a new house so that you have more bedrooms for the extra children in the house, that is a decision for the family, for the relationship. And the difference between buying a house so that there's enough room for all the kids versus buying a house on the beach just so that she can be on the beach is the difference between buying the house being a necessity of the relationship or being personal desire. Where a house still gets bought in either situation, the car still gets bought in either situation. But why is it being bought? That's the question. Another strategy is going to be practicing radical transparency. He says someone already said something about your beard. Is that what that was? No, nobody said anything about my beard. I thought that said shave. And I was thinking to myself, I might need to shave because it's getting close to November and I usually shave at least once a year. I usually grow it out, and but I usually shave once a year. and then start over the growing phase. But I'm considering growing it out for 2 years this time instead of shaving it off and then growing it back because I shaved it this time last year. I shaved everything off, went to a bald face, and then let it grow out for the year. It only takes about 2 or 3 months to get it out the way I want it to get out. But then the whole time I'm like, man, I want this long, like Fu Manchu beard all the way down to my toes kind of thing. I'm never gonna get a beard that long. So I was contemplating that, and then when I seen shave instead of shovel, I was like, no, I'm not shaving my beard. So yeah, you did trigger a subconscious thought there. He said, go in the garage and make her a bag. Yeah, go in the garage and put the sewing machine up in there and be like, make me some Nikes. But if you use the next strategy, which is the radical transparency and low profile living, this is going to mean being deliberately frank about financial non negotiable expectations for behavior early and often in a relationship and adopting a lifestyle that doesn't advertise wealth. So if you're single, you do not want to advertise the fact that you have money. If you're in a relationship, you want to continue to remind her that you are only going to approve of a certain level of discretionary spending every paycheck, even with the full transparency that you plan on investing the rest for the sake of early retirement, for the sake of a family vacation, for the sake of emergencies, whatever the case may be. But you are only approving of a certain level of discretionary spending, and anything above that, her impulse buying needs to get under control. And this will reduce ammunition for manipulation. He said, grow through till the new year. Well, okay, I'm starting to get some grades, right? And the irony is that if I shave it all off and then grow it back out, there are no grays. But if I don't start shaving it off, I start noticing all the grays. Grays give you wisdom, right? But then I think to myself, I'm like, do I just trim the grays? Because I can actually look like I'm in my early 20s if I don't have any grays. But if I allow that 3 to 4 strands of probably stress related gray hairs uh, to grow out, then I would end up recognizing that the old has set in. Some men actually shave off all of their hair and go bald so that they don't have to face the fact that they're aging. I just recognize that uh, in my lineage, the youth of hair is still there in the 70s. So that means I've got another 30 years of not necessarily that much gray hair going on. So I'm like, I'm trying to keep that observation. So yeah, I think I'm gonna grow it for another year. Yeah, the salt and pepper color. Well, it's I don't know. I guess it's just like that one piece of salt in a big bag because there's only like 3 strands of gray hair. Everything else is fine. Oh, you said you ain't leaving the garage. Shit, you put her in that garage. You're gonna have to cover the garage with a clear plastic tarp, chains hanging from the ceiling. You ain't leaving. Now, creating an accountability can also be a power. Before agreeing to a large expense, checking in with a neutral friend or mentor can provide an outside perspective and strengthen resolve. Now, sometimes these ladies will go and talk to their homegirls, and I don't understand the mentality of women, so I would love a woman's opinion. Why do they promote negative and inappropriate behavior with one another instead of only promoting the positive? And when you take this particular advice and say, oh, we'll go and get a second opinion that is outside of the relationship, that reinforcement of Well, my friends think that I should get it. My homegirls think that I should get it. My mom thinks that I should get it. It's like getting support for your position should probably be more tuned to getting support from a jury of your partner's peers might make more sense. So, fellas, you're thinking about a specific type of purchase. You're going to go and get advice. Try to get that third party advice from a female perspective. Likewise, oh yeah, it's more than just a sounding board, bro. It is a protest of chaos. Almost like women want to see exactly how wild another woman can get in her relationship and still stay in that relationship. Like some women believe that they can push the buttons of a man just to see how many buttons that they can push before he loses his cool. Mm-mm. Hand grenade style. Someone you trust. Yes, it is supposed to be someone that you trust. But when you're getting that advice, which is why you should be able to, like, your sister, your aunt, something like that. You could do a group census. You can ask all the females in your family and all the females in your partner's family to get a clear understanding because her upbringing led to some of her decision making. So getting an opinion from some of the women in her family and then getting an opinion from some of the women in your family would allow you to be able to rationalize from a woman's point of view whether or not this is a good buy. Now, ladies, same thing. I know women are like, oh, well, I got male best friends. It could be a thing, but you gotta make sure that you got the kind of male friend that, like, if he's a gay best friend, then that's fine. But if he's a heterosexual male, likely he's gonna sabotage. But there are some that'll really throw themselves on a stake and help you save your marriage. So you got to be careful with those. But if you have somebody that you trust, like a brother, a father, an uncle, you know what I'm saying? His father, brother, uncle. A man will give a woman positive advice on how to approach another man for the success of the man, the same way a woman will give a man positive advice so that that man can be successful for the other woman. So getting that resolve, that strength, that mentorship, he's like, just one button. Nah, bro, it ain't like pushing a little red button, nuke button in the White House. This is like pushing every button in Dexter's laboratory and causing catastrophic failure. That's what these women be doing. Well, what does this do? The one big thing that says do not touch. What does this do? Now, a more direct approach is to flip the script. Now, this involves offering help, time, or gifts only when they align with the man's core values, not in response to emotional pressure. If manipulation continues, he should calmly point out the dynamic and remove himself from the situation. So, if we're in a scenario where, uh, like for example, women that find things for men to do when a man starts getting comfortable. His ability to apply help to help her move something or lift something or something to that effect should come from the understanding that after I have gotten a little bit of rest, even if you're going to dictate a term, say, give me an hour and then I'll go do it. You're setting a timeline, then I'll go do it. If there's certain expectations that you want your wife to perform, like uh, helping you rearrange the calendar so that you can close this business deal, or helping you with a presentation so that you can lock in an investor, or um, you know, getting your suit from the tailor so that you can prepare for your new job interview or your promotion status, or preparing a home dinner for your client or your boss or something like that so that you can uh, sway your constituent in a non-work setting to kind of gain favor for the sake of increasing finances that she would also ultimately benefit from. You would offer, well, if you help me get this deal, then I'll get you that G wagon, or if you help me get this deal, then we can afford that vacation to go out of town or go out of the country, stuff to that effect. He says, funny, you already know what you want, do you? Just needs confirmation. Well, that's actually a thing. Women do it more often than men. When a woman wants to perform a behavior pattern, just to make sure that her behavior is socially acceptable, she will go and get confirmation from other individuals. But she will paint the picture in a fashion that will lead to the outcome that she wants being the best outcome. She will tell the story in a way that favors the outcome that she wants. Men, on the other hand, are like, hey, I got situation A, I got situation B. I'm not too sure about which one to do. I kind of want to do situation A, but I'm not too sure. What do you think about situation B? And then the other person will pros and cons weigh the scenario and then be like, you probably should do situation B based on the kind of partner that you have and the kind of outcome you're expecting to have. While situation A might be more better for your personal expectations, situation B might be more better for the situation's expectations. And you might want to lean on situation B, and then that helps the guy like, oh, okay, that makes sense. So um you're not looking for confirmation in the situation. You're looking for an alternative opinion to the situation. If you end up with confirmation where, just like for example, you go to the doctor, doctor says you got cancer. You go to another doctor hoping that they're going to tell you that you don't got cancer. The second doctor tells you you got cancer. You go to a third doctor hoping that that doctor doesn't tell you you got cancer. The third doctor says you got cancer. Three different doctors did different tests in different ways and they came to find out that you got cancer. That's what we're talking about, an alternative situation. You're not only going out to get confirmation. You're going out looking for an alternative. But if you end up with confirmation, this gives you reinforcements to your own personal observations. However, if it gives you an alternative, if you had a situation A and your partner had situation B, and between the two of y'all could not compromise. If somebody else gives you a situation C, D, E, now you got five alternatives. So you can go back to your partner instead of arguing back and forward over either picking one or two. You're like, hey, there are three other options that we can choose. Let's mow those over since your first idea and my first idea we didn't agree on. Let's think about three others that we can work with. See what I'm saying? And he said, send flowers to yourself. Oh, that'll make her jealous. Sounds like you have problems. They got a lot of problems in these situations. We're talking about toxic relationships today. He said, would you like to make an appointment with more than with more than one therapist? Yes. You need to have when you got this kind of money, bro, you need to have four therapists in the room, like a panel of psychological evaluators. The same way you have five lawyers in a room, you want to have four therapists in a room analyzing this person at the same time, just to make sure you get it right. You don't always want it to favor her, you want it to favor the relationship. He's in a situation B was the wrong choice. Now she's mad at you. But see, that's the point. She has situation B, you have situation A. If you go with situation B, she's mad at you, but it was her idea. Again, confirmation comes from a lot of communication. He said, I hear it all the time. I giggle at them since I know they already know the answer. And they come to me and ask me first of all, I no longer answer questions when a woman comes up and asks me, what do I think about what she should do? My first response is, well, what do you want to do? I don't like answering a question with a question, but I have to answer that particular question with a question. Before I tell you what I think you should do, maybe you should tell me what you want to do because you're asking me if you should. Because at the end of the day, women more often than not only ask questions that they think they know the answer to. She don't got to know the answer to it. But if she thinks based on the data that she collected and the way she interpreted it that she knows the answer, all she's looking for is for you to agree with her. And groupthink is not always good in a relationship. Independent thinking means that she might have thought yes and he might say no. She might say why, and once he provides the explanation as to why, she might not agree, but she might say, "Oh, I understand why we don't agree." Which also, over years in a relationship, before she starts weighing in on a decision, she would first recognize he's not going to be okay with this because we've talked about similar topics and his position was this on those types of topics. So I can assume based on this that he's gonna tell me no. Now I'm gonna go back and talk to him about it to confirm. But when I go to talk to him about it to confirm, I'm not trying to convince him. I'm just trying to get that affirmation that he's not going to be down for this. Now, some situations, uh, we recognize that if we bring this to our partner, it's going to piss them off. Well, I'm not going to bring it to my partner unless I have no other choice. Now, that's going to bring secrets into the relationship. So, what you have to do, remember, we talked about this a few weeks ago during that State of the Union when you have that uh, 15 to 30 minutes of communication time where you just get things off of your chest like a confessional with no judgment, no resentment, and no retaliation. In that State of the Union confession, it's like, look, something is about to happen, something I want to happen, something already happened. I didn't know how to tell you. And right now, while we're free to be open and transparent, this is what's going on. That doesn't mean that you can just throw an affair up and say, you can't judge me because we're in our State of the Union moment. No, the fact is that if there was a impulse buy you wanted to make, if there was a financial transaction that you wanted to perform, and you knew that asking or discussing this with your partner would cause conflict in a relationship, you wait until you've agreed on the conflict free discussion to bring it up. That way, you guys can analyze it in a moment where your partner is determined to not get pissed off at what you're about to say. Finally, preparing a financial safety cushion. We understand that by creating separate savings ensures independence and providing a critical sense of security, regardless of the relationship's outcome, is a thing. But also, you can make sure, he said, remember to like and subscribe. You also can make sure that if you start building your trust from the date of commitment, where throughout your relationship, you and or your partner is putting a certain quantity of money into this trust every month, every year, so that if the relationship fails, you will get residual income from this trust from the remainder of time. If you do that, you don't need an escape fund because if you're in the relationship for a year to 2 years and you guys are putting ten or $20,000 a year into this escape fund, into this escape trust, if the relationship fails, it's an irrevocable trust. You will, as a 50% shareholder, get whatever this trust has got to offer. And if you go even further and have that trust put a life insurance policy out on your partner and yourself, if one of you pass, the trust is a beneficiary of the insurance policy, and the remaining beneficiaries of the policy splits the profits of the or the assets in the trust. This means that if you broke up with your ex from way back when, the irrevocable trust pays for his life insurance policy. If he dies, you get rich. And you don't got to do $1 million policy. You can do a small $100,000 policy where you're only paying like $50 a month for it. But if you got a $50,000 policy on each one of your partners and you've got a trust for each one of your partners, 11 relationships over the course of 20 years from 18 to 38, you should have 11 different trusts where 11 different people have a life insurance policy out on them, where statistically speaking, at least one of them will die before you, and you will get way more money in your older years. Where instead of reconciling with an ex that will damage your current relationship, you would have the notification that an ex has passed away, and now you have more money in your current relationship. Michael says, I really enjoy these therapy sessions. See, he trusts me so much he didn't read it. I didn't trust her. I built a trust because I don't trust her. That's what it is. In a relationship built on financial transactions, both people will lose. He will be trapped by his fear of rejection and desire for approval, continually spending to prove his worth, only to find himself anxious and resentful. She, turn in, leverages his deepest insecurities, turning affection into a tool for personal gain and transforming the relationship into a hollow transaction, which has become the modern Western culture, at least here in the United States. Whether money is used as a weapon for control or as a reason to forfeit your own soul is poisonous to everyone. True richness isn't about what you own, it's about owning yourself, controlling yourself, and respecting your partner on a mutual foundation. Have you ever felt like you were paying too high of a price for something that looked perfect on the outside? I want you guys to make sure that you let us know what your story is. And I read all the comments. And if this resonates with you guys, make sure that you hit the notification button because tomorrow it is going to get even deeper. Make sure that you guys take the opportunity, like Michael said a moment ago, to like and subscribe and hit that follow button if you're watching us from Twitch and or Twitter. Remember that no matter how bad your situation is, you are never alone. You don't know who you might hear their story from, where you can find out that a lot of the times you don't even have the worst story. You just did not know how to navigate out of it. So, coming in this and that, when we talk about this, that, and everything in between, Thursday through Saturday, we talk about how to navigate yourself out of what you might have felt to be an impossible situation, where it's never impossible. It's just that you have not considered an alternative. He said, good night. Listen to what he's saying. Definitely. Now, I want to thank you guys for coming to this and that. Before I walk out of the door, I want to say, ladies, as long as the situation doesn't make sense, I'm going to keep asking you ladies to make it make sense. So, ladies, please make it make sense. Fellas, I give you this information to help you guys become higher value men. So, take this information and apply it in places that will improve your decision making and also improve your capabilities. I really appreciate you, Michael. Thank you so much. Y'all need to love me because I'm giving you guys the ability to make yourselves better so that you can change the things that you don't like about your life. And nobody can say, oh, my life is fine. I love my life. No, you don't. if you loved your life, you would not have any area of depression. You would not have any area of sadness. You would not have any area of disappointment. There will be nothing about your life that you could change that you would change even if you could, that you have plateaued with your satisfaction in life. People who are continuously growing to do and be better than what they was this year and what they were last year are never satisfied with where they are, which means there's something about your life right now that is inside of your control that you can proactively change. And here on this and that is what we focus on, helping you make yourself better for yourself. Now, ladies, this isn't exclusive to the men because even though we're 65% male driven podcast from the male's perspective, we clearly provide you with non exclusive information that helps you ladies become higher value women as well, which allows you to work towards your own success. And apparently, ladies, if you need somebody to cry on, you can call Michael. Either way, you can also tiptoe on over to the comment section, join the membership here on the YouTube channel, or hit that follow button on Twitch or Twitter, and then reach out to us on the channel during the live show, and we'll be able to work out some of your concerns. Now, I want to thank you guys one more time for coming to this and that. I'm your host, Xander, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between, and I will see you guys tomorrow night.
Chase validation, now I validate myself. Building inner strength, putting doubt upon the shelf. No more unnecessary drama, no more wasted time. Climbing higher, constantly making my own climb. My network is my net worth. Choose your company wise. Surround yourself with eagles, not with sheep in disguise. Every interaction is a reflection of my brand. Quality over quantity, that's my personal command.